Osas has always dreamed of leaving home, serving his country, and gaining experience in a new environment. As an Edo boy, he was used to the bustling city life, loud traffic, crowded streets, and the constant movement of people chasing their daily hustle. He had imagined his NYSC year would take him to another city, maybe somewhere with bright lights and new opportunities. But when the posting finally came, it was far from what he expected. He found himself in a remote village, a place where life moved slowly, and the only sounds at night were crickets and the occasional hoot of owi. The roads were rough and dusty, the air smell of farmland, and the nearest town was miles away. Network was poor, and the only place to charge a phone was at the local shop that ran a generator for a few hours daily. It was nothing like the life he knew, but Osas had no choice. He had to adapt. Luckily, he was not alone. Uchana, his new friend and fellow corps member from the east, had also been posted to the same village. They met at their place of primary assignment, PPA, a small community school with few teachers and broken desks. From the first day, they got along well. Uchena was funny and easygoing, always making jokes about their new life in the village. After a few days, they decided to rent an apartment together to save costs. Their new home was a simple two-room building made of mud bricks with an old zinc roof that rattled when the wind blew. There was no running water, so they had to fetch from a well every morning. The nights were eerily quiet, and the darkness felt deeper than anything Osas had ever known. But despite the change, they managed to settle in. Life in the village was peaceful at first, but soon, strange things started happening. Osas was the first to notice something unusual. His cooking gas was finishing too quickly. At first, he ignored it, thinking maybe he had been using it more than usual. But then he started paying attention. One evening, after cooking his usual portion of rice, he checked the gas level. He still had a reasonable amount left. But the next morning, when he wanted to boil water for tea, the gas was almost empty. It did not make sense. He asked Uchena if he had used it. But his friend shook his head. "I did not even enter the kitchen last night," Uchena said, frowning. Osas felt uneasy, but he pushed the thought aside. Maybe the gas had been leaking, or maybe he had miscalculated. But as the days passed, other strange things began to happen, things he could no longer ignore. Every morning before leaving for work, Osas would check the gas level carefully. He would lift the cylinder slightly, feeling its weight just to be sure. But no matter how much he checked, something strange kept happening. By the time he and Uchena returned in the evening, the cylinder felt much lighter than before. At first, he thought maybe he was imagining things. But one day, he touched the gas cylinder immediately after stepping into the kitchen, and his heart skipped a bit. It was warm, almost as if someone had just used it. The strangest part, he and Uchena always left house together in the morning and returned together in the evening. Their doors were locked, and their windows had no gaps big enough for anyone to sneak in. So, who was using the gas? At night, this got even more suspicious. It started with faint rustling sounds from the kitchen. At first, Osas thought it was a rat, but the noises were too steady, too deliberate. It was as if someone was moving things around. One night, Uchenna heard it too. They both sat up in their beds, listening. The sound of a pot shifting, a spoon clicking against a plate, a soft screaming noise like a bag of rice being disturbed. But each time they got up to check, the kitchen was empty. Nothing seemed out of place. Yet their foodstuff was mysteriously reducing. In the morning, Osas would count the sachet of spaghetti, only to find fewer than he remembered. There are packs of Maggi cubes, which had been full a few days ago, were suddenly half gone. Even their garri, stored in a cover bowl, seemed to be reducing bit by bit. At first, they tried to convince themselves that maybe they have used more food than they realized. Maybe one of them had taken extra without remembering. But then, their drinking water started finishing faster than usual too. Osas was sure he had filled the big keg of water on Sunday. By Tuesday morning, it was almost empty. Uchenna swore he had not touched it. That was when they knew something was very wrong. Confused and unsettled, they started locking the kitchen door at night. But even then, the strange occurrence did not stop. "Bro, I think someone is entering this house when we are not around," Osas said one evening, his voice low but firm. Uchenna swallowed hard. "You think so? Or how do you explain all these things?" Osas gestured towards the nearest empty water keg, the half-empty bag of rice, and the scattered Maggi cubes on the kitchen shelf. They both sat in silence, staring at the kitchen door. The air in the room felt heavy, thick with tension. Uchenna looked genuinely scared. He wiped his palm on his trouser, his eyes darting around the room, as if expecting someone to jump out at them. "Maybe people are jumping the fence to steal food," Uchenna whispered, his voice barely audible. Osas frowned. The thought of strangers sneaking into their house while they were away made his skin crawl. "We need to catch this person," he said, his voice more determined. That night, they devised a plan. Osas took a pot cover and carefully placed it on top of the kitchen door, balancing it just right so that the slightest movement would send it crashing on the ground. If someone entered the kitchen, the noise would wake them up immediately. "Are you sure this will work?" Uchenna asked, watching as Osas adjusted the pot cover one last time. "It has to," Osas said. "At least we will know if someone enters." To be extra sure, he also bought a strong torchlight and fresh batteries. He tested it a few times, flashing the bright beam around their small room. The light was powerful enough to blind anyone for a few seconds. "If I catch this thief," Osas said, gripping the torchlight tightly, "I will shout 'Ole, Ole,' so that everyone will wake up." Uchenna nodded nervously. "Yes, that is a good plan." But there was hesitation in his voice, as if he was not so sure he wanted to wake up to whatever or whoever was sneaking into their house. They turned off the light, lay down on their beds, and waited. The night was eerily quiet. Even the usual sounds of crickets and distant village chatter seemed muted. The only thing Osas could hear was the slow, steady breathing of Uchenna behind him. Every few minutes, Osas would open his eyes and glance at the kitchen door. Nothing moved. The pot cover was still there. But a strange feeling settled in his stomach, a feeling he could not shake off. Something did not feel right. Osas refused to sleep, sitting upright on his bed, watching the door like a hawk. His heart pounded with every ticking of the clock. The air in the room felt heavy, filled with silence and anticipation. Hours passed. 9 p.m. nothing. 10 p.m. still nothing. 11 p.m. The village was completely silent now, with only the occasional hoot of an owie breaking the stillness. Osa's eyes were beginning to feel heavy, but he forced himself to stay alert. He gripped the torchlight tightly, his fingers sweating. Uchana, who had been lying down, had dozed off, his light snoring the only sound in the room. Then bang! The pot cover crashed to the ground. Osas jumped up immediately. Uchana woke with a last scream. "Who is there?" Uchana stammered, scrambling to his feet. Osas did not answer. His blood was rushing too fast. His arms shook slightly as he gripped the torchlight and sprinted towards the kitchen. His mind raced. Who could this be? A thief? A village ghost? With one deep breath, he pushed the door open, and there standing in the kitchen, holding their gas cylinder, was their landlord. For a moment, everything seems to freeze as Osa's torchlight stormed directly on the man's face, revealing his guilty, startled expression. His eyes were wide with shock, his lips slightly parted as if he had been caught in the act of something terrible. Uchana, who had been peeking from behind, gasped, "Jesus!" The landlord quickly dropped the gas cylinder with a loud thud and raised his hands in surrender as if they were police officers about to arrest him. "Osas, please, I can explain." He stammered, his voice shaking. Osas and Uchana exchanged a look, their minds struggling to process what they were seeing. The same landlord who had welcomed them to the house. The same landlord who had smiled and told them to feel at home. The same landlord who had acted like a kind old man. He was the one sneaking into their house. He was the one stealing their food. Osa's breathing was heavy. His grip on the torchlight tightened. "You better start explaining," Osa said, his voice low and dangerous. Uchana, still standing behind him, whispered, "Osas, what if he is a ritualist?" Osa swallowed. The thought sent a cold chill down his spine. The landlord licked his dry lips nervously, his eyes darting around as if looking for a way to escape. "Let me explain," he repeated, his voice almost pleading. But Osas was not sure. He was ready for whatever the man was about to say. Osas could not believe it. His own landlord was the thief. Then the old man's voice trembled as he spoke. "I did not know how to ask. My family is hungry. We have no gas. My children cry every night because there is nothing to eat. I was desperate." His voice cracked, and for the first time, Osas noticed how tired the man looked. His clothes were loose, his cheeks sunken. This was not just a thief caught in the act. This was a man at the end of his strength. Osas lowered the torchlight. The anger that had been burning inside him slowly faded, replaced by something else: pity. He had caught the thief, but instead of feeling victorious, he felt something different: regret. This was not just a criminal trying to steal from them. This was a father trying to feed his family. Uchana exhaled sharply, finally breaking the silence. "But why did not you just ask us for help?" His voice was softer now, no longer filled with fear. The landlord sighed and wiped his face with his hands. "Pride," he admitted. "I did not want you boys to see me as a failure. I thought I could just take a little, just enough to keep my children from crying at night. Osas clenched his jaw. He had grown up hearing about thieves being punished, about how stealing was bad. But standing here, looking at this broken man, he realized something. Sometimes people steal because they have no other choice. Without saying a word, Osas bent down, picked up his gas cylinder, and walked out of the kitchen. He did not shout. He did not call the neighbors. He did not embarrass the landlord. The old man stood there, his head lower, ashamed of what he had done. That night, Osas and Uchana sat in their room, both lost in thought. Sleep refused to come. The image of the landlord's face, filled with guilt and sorrow, refused to leave Osas' mind. Early the next morning, Osas took some money from his savings, placed it inside an envelope, and walked quietly to the landlord's house. He knocked once, and then the landlord's son opened the door. Osas handed him the envelope. "Give this to your father," he said simply, before turning to leave. The boy looked confused at first. Then his eyes widened as he peered inside the envelope. His lips trembled. "Thank you, sir," he whispered. Osas nodded and walked away. That evening, just as the sun was setting, there was a soft knock on their door. When Osas opened it, the landlord stood there, his eyes red and swollen, as if he had been crying for hours. He did not say much. He simply looked at Osas, his lips quivering, and then he whispered, "You will never go down, my son. You will never see shame." Tears rolled down his cheek as he placed a shaking hand on Osas' shoulder. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. Osas stood in the doorway, watching him leave. His heart felt heavy, but not in a bad way. Beside him, Uchana let out a deep breath. "Life," Uchana murmured, shaking his head. "It just taught us something today." Osas nodded slowly. Thanks guys for watching this video. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel to support us. Like, share, and do not forget to tell us the countries or the cities you are watching from. Thank you guys. We love you all.